Welcome to Fragile Bonds, to the powerful stories of family, love, loss, and the choices that shape our lives. Now let's begin today's story.
My name is Emily. I work at a marketing company while raising my 8-year-old daughter, Sophia. My husband Michael is an architect, and 3 months ago he was assigned to a major project in the neighboring state, so he's been living there alone. He always comes home on weekends, and we look forward to it. Especially Sophia. On Friday nights, she waits by the front door listening for the sound of her father's car. When she sees the headlights, she bounds outside like a young deer. During the week, it's just my daughter and me, but I rarely feel lonely. My sister Rachel visits often. Rachel works as a freelance designer. Between jobs, she frequently comes over to make dinner or help Sophia with her homework. My sister is single and has a flexible schedule, so she's really been a lifesaver. Even on days when I'm late due to overtime, if I call Rachel, she's happy to watch my daughter. Sophia loves her aunt, and when Rachel comes over, her eyes light up as she rushes to hug her. Next Saturday is Michael's birthday. This year I'm planning a special surprise. I'm going to drive the 2 hours to Michael's apartment and surprise him by showing up early in the morning. Sophia is obsessed with making a present for her father, cutting colored construction paper and drawing with markers at the living room table every night. When I try to peek, she quickly covers it with both hands and laughs, saying, "Don't look." That sight is so adorable, it warms my heart. When I told Rachel about the plan, my sister's eyes lit up and she said, "I'll help too." But this time I wanted it to be just my daughter and me. I wanted it to be a special time for just the three of us as a family. When I told her that, Rachel's expression clouded a bit. Then she said, "Oh, I see," and left earlier than usual. Watching my sister's back as she left, my heart ached a little. But then Sophia came running up saying, "Mom, Daddy's definitely going to be so happy," and I forgot all about those feelings. A week before the birthday, Sophia started acting a bit strange. She began waking up crying from nightmares in the middle of the night. When I rushed to her room, she was drenched in sweat and trembling. Even when I held her and whispered, "It's okay," she wouldn't calm down easily. In the morning she started wanting to stay home from school, making excuses about stomachaches or headaches. When I took her temperature it was normal, clearly nothing was physically wrong. And what was strangest of all was that Sophia suddenly started saying she didn't want to see Daddy. She'd been looking forward to the weekend so much, and now suddenly she was saying something like that. I figured the loneliness of not seeing her father must have built up, making her emotions unstable. For an 8-year-old child, 3 months is too long. That's exactly why I thought this surprise had to succeed. I wanted to remind my daughter how important it is for the family to be together. On the morning of the birthday, I woke Sophia up. When she opened her eyes, she looked like she was afraid of something. I smiled brightly and said, "Come on, we're going to see Daddy." Sophia wouldn't get out from under the covers, just stared at me. In her eyes was something I couldn't understand. But I took my daughter's hand and we got in the car together. As we drove on the highway, I talked to Sophia many times. But my daughter barely answered, just stared out the window. Her small body in the passenger seat was stiff, unmoving like stone. When we stopped at a light and I looked at her profile, her lips were trembling. "Are you okay?" I asked, and Sophia shook her head. Then in a small voice she said, "Mom, let's go home." I gently stroked my daughter's head. "Daddy will be so happy. When he sees your present, he might even cry." But Sophia just looked down and stopped saying anything. A heavy silence filled the car. I grew anxious but kept my foot on the gas. When I pulled the car into the apartment parking lot, I took a deep breath. It had taken 2 hours to get here. During the long drive, Sophia had barely opened her mouth. Now she was gripping her seatbelt in the passenger seat. I could see her small hands trembling. I placed my hand over my daughter's. It was surprisingly cold. cold as ice. Sophia, it's okay. We're going to see Daddy. I looked into my daughter's face. Sophia looked up at me. Tears were pooling in her eyes. She started to say something, then bit her lip. I hugged my daughter. Her small body was trembling in my arms. I could feel her heartbeat against my chest. It was beating much too fast. You know, when Daddy sees you're present, he's going to be the happiest daddy in the world. I said this while gently rubbing my daughter's back. But Sophia gripped my clothes and wouldn't let go. I pulled my daughter away to look at her face again. Her cheeks had turned pale. I grew worried, but we'd come this far. There was no turning back. Michael was waiting for us. He was probably spreading out work papers and drinking coffee. Imagining the surprised look on his face when we opened the door made my heart race. When we got out of the car, the cold autumn wind brushed my cheeks. Sophia squeezed my hand tight. The grip was so strong I felt a little pain. We walked toward the apartment entrance. Sophia's steps were heavy, as if her feet were filled with lead. She kept stopping and turning to look back at the parking lot. Each time I pulled my daughter's hand to move her forward. When I pressed the elevator button, Sophia drew in a small breath. I looked down at my daughter. She was staring at the floor. The elevator arrived and the doors opened. We went inside. Our reflections appeared in the mirrored walls. I was making a smile, but Sophia wouldn't even lift her face. When the elevator started going up, my daughter's hand gripped mine even harder. When we reached the 5th floor and the doors opened, we stepped into the hallway. Michael's room was at the far end on the right. I started walking, pulling my daughter's hand. The hallway was quiet. Maybe because it was Saturday morning, there was no sign of other residents. Only the sound of our shoes echoed in the hallway. As we walked, Sophia kept taking deep breaths. Her breathing was rough, as if she'd been running. Sophia, calm down. Take slow breaths. I said this and slowed our pace. But we were almost at the room. I could see the door to 505. The gold numbers reflected the morning sun and gleamed. I took the key from my chest pocket. When Michael moved into this apartment, he'd made me a spare key. Gripping that key, I stood in front of the door. At that moment, Sophia suddenly stopped. I looked at my daughter. Sophia was frozen in the middle of the hallway. Her face was deathly pale, her eyes wide open. An expression as if she'd seen something terrifying. I rushed to my daughter in a panic. Sophia, what's wrong? My daughter looked up at me. Fear floated in her eyes. Pure, instinctive fear. Then she sniffled. Mom, there's a weird smell. I frowned. A smell? I breathed in the air. But I didn't sense anything. The hallway was clean, with just the faint smell of disinfectant. The apartment manager must have cleaned in the morning. I smiled gently at my daughter. I don't smell anything. It's okay, you're imagining it. But Sophia shook her head. She grabbed my arm. Her nails dug into my skin. Mom, please, let's go home. Please. My daughter's voice was pleading. Tears ran down her cheeks. I was confused. Coming this far only to turn back. Michael was right there. Just beyond one door. I cupped my daughter's cheeks with both hands. Sophia, listen. Daddy is waiting for us. You want to see him, don't you? You've wanted to see him for so long, haven't you? My daughter kept shaking her head. Tears fell onto my hands. Her body was trembling. As if she were in the cold of winter. I hugged my daughter. It's okay. You don't have to be afraid. Mommy's here. I said this and pulled my daughter away slightly. Then I headed for the door. Sophia was clutching the hem of my clothes, but I didn't care and inserted the key into the keyhole. My hand was trembling a little. My daughter's behavior had made me nervous too. I took a deep breath and turned the key. A click echoed in the hallway. At that moment, Sophia screamed. "Don't!" My daughter lunged at my arm. The momentum made me stumble slightly. Sophia desperately grabbed my arm, trying to pull me away from the door. The strength was unbelievable for an 8-year-old child. "Sophia, stop. It's okay." I tried to calm my daughter. But Sophia kept pulling my arm. Her face was a mess of tears and snot. Her eyes were wide with terror. I had never seen my daughter like this. I put my hand on the doorknob and slowly pushed. The door opened. The view from the entrance was quiet. Morning light streamed into the living room. The curtains on the window were open, showing the city view. The room was tidy. Michael's characteristic meticulousness. But I didn't see my husband. Maybe he was in the bedroom. I tried to open the door a bit more. "Mom, don't go in." Sophia's scream echoed in the hallway. My daughter forcefully pulled my hand. That force pulled me back into the hallway. The door remained open. I looked at my daughter. Sophia was gripping my hand with both of hers. Those hands were ice cold and trembling. Her face was pale, her lips turning purple. "Sophia, what's wrong? What on earth?" I grabbed my daughter's shoulders. But Sophia only made sounds that weren't words. As if her throat was blocked. I hugged my daughter. Her small body shook violently in my arms. I stroked my daughter's head while looking at the open door. Sophia kept crying in my arms. The sound of her crying was closer to a scream than sobbing. I rubbed my daughter's back while whispering, "It's okay," over and over. But I knew even I was lying. Nothing was okay. My daughter's reaction told me that. "Sophia, calm down. Talk to me. What did you see?" I tried to make my daughter lift her face. But Sophia shook her head and buried her face in my chest. Her small body wouldn't stop trembling. I looked around the hallway. Should I call someone for help? But what would I explain? That my daughter suddenly had a panic attack. I didn't understand what was happening myself. Sophia lifted her face. Her cheeks were wet with tears, her eyes swollen and red. She stared at me. In her eyes was an emotion I'd never seen before. It was sadness. Deep, deep sadness. Like the eyes of someone who had lost something precious. "Please, let's go home." My daughter's voice was hoarse. I wiped my daughter's cheeks and tried to smile gently. But my facial muscles were tense and I couldn't smile properly. "But we came to see Daddy. We came all this way." Sophia shook her head violently. Then she grabbed my clothes. "Daddy. Daddy is all ready." My daughter swallowed her words. Her lips were trembling. I gripped my daughter's shoulders. "Daddy is already what?" "Sophia, tell me properly." But my daughter fell silent. She just stared at me. Her eyes were pleading for something. But I didn't know what. My heart began beating faster. Anxiety swelled in my chest. Had something happened to Michael? But that couldn't be. We just talked on the phone last night. He was fine. His voice was the same as always, talking about work, saying he was looking forward to seeing us. "Sophia, wait here. Mommy's just going to look inside." I said this and stood up. Sophia grabbed my hand. "Don't look. Mom, please." My daughter's voice was a scream. I gently removed my daughter's hand. "It's okay. I'll be right back. Don't move from here. I walked toward the door. I could feel Sophia's gaze on my back. Standing in front of the door, I took a deep breath. Then I peered inside. The living room was quiet. Morning sunlight streaming through the large window cast long shadows on the floor. Something was placed on the table. I squinted. A birthday cake. A small cake with candles on top. They weren't lit yet. Next to the cake were 2 wine glasses lined up. One had red wine poured in it, the other was empty. My chest tightened. Someone had been here. Someone other than Michael. Or had Michael been waiting for someone? I entered the room. Sophia was shouting something behind me, but I couldn't hear anymore. My head was confused. As I approached the table, I saw a small bag next to the wine glass. A woman's handbag. Black leather with a gold clasp. I stared at that bag. Then I raised my eyes. On the wall beyond the table hung a picture frame. I slowly walked toward it. My feet felt heavy. Like I was walking through water. I approached the frame and looked at the photo inside. Time stopped. In the photo was Michael. And a woman nestled beside him. They were both smiling. Happy, intimate smiles. Michael had his arm around the woman's shoulder. The woman had her head resting on his chest. I stared at the woman in the photo. I knew that face. I knew it well. A face I'd seen many times. A face I'd been looking at for years. Rachel. My sister. In the photo, my sister was embracing my husband and smiling. The strength left my knees. I put my hand against the wall to support myself. I couldn't breathe. My chest was constricted, air wouldn't come in. This was a dream. It had to be a bad dream. But the coldness of the wall, the hardness of the floor, everything in this scene told me it was real. I kept looking at the photo. I didn't want to look, but I couldn't look away. Michael and my sister's smiles pierced my heart. How long had I been standing there? Suddenly, I heard a voice behind me. Mom. It was Sophia. My daughter was standing at the entrance. She wouldn't come in. Just stood there trembling and watching me. I looked at my daughter. Tears were streaming down Sophia's face. But her expression wasn't fear. It was sadness. And some other emotion. Sympathy. Pity. Was my daughter feeling sorry for me? Mom, look at that. Sophia pointed toward the back of the room with a trembling hand. I looked in the direction my daughter was pointing. Beyond the living room was a hallway. And beyond that I could see a bedroom door. The door was half open. I stared at that door. Something was visible from there. Something lying on the floor. My heart began pounding violently. My body moved on its own. My feet started walking toward the hallway. Stop, a voice said in my head. Don't look. Turn back. But my feet wouldn't stop. I proceeded down the hallway. I approached the bedroom door. Through the gap of the half-open door, I could gradually see inside. Something had fallen on the floor. It was a person. It was a man. The person was lying face up. Arms thrown out to the sides of the body. I couldn't see the face. But I knew from the clothes. Blue shirt. Gray pants. Clothes Michael often wore. I stood rooted to the spot. In front of the door, unable to move. I didn't want to see. I didn't want to see. But I had to see. I pushed the door open. The scene inside the room rushed into my eyes. Lying on the floor was Michael. My husband. His face was pale, his eyes closed. His mouth slightly open. Not moving. Not moving at all. I tried to make a sound. But no sound came from my throat. My knees collapsed. I sank to the floor right there. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. But the scene before my eyes wouldn't disappear. My husband lay on the floor, not moving. I crawled toward him. I reached out my hand. I touched his cheek. It was cold. Cold as stone. A soundless scream escaped my mouth. My head went blank. This is wrong. This isn't Michael. Michael isn't here. I talked to him on the phone yesterday. He's alive. He should be alive. But my hand was touching his cold cheek. That coldness told me everything. Mom. I heard Sophia's voice. From far away. My daughter was calling me. But I couldn't move. I could only stare at my husband. Tears overflowed. My vision blurred. I clung to my husband's body. Michael. Michael. I called his name over and over. But he didn't answer. He would never answer again. I understood that. I didn't want to understand, but I did. My husband was dead. In this room, alone, lying cold. I heard footsteps behind me. Sophia was approaching. My daughter put her hand on my shoulder. Mom, let's go, quickly. Sophia's voice was trembling. But the hand pulling me had strength in it. My daughter was trying to make me stand. I raised my face. I looked at Sophia. My daughter was crying. But there was strong will in her eyes. The will to protect me. My 8-year-old daughter was trying to protect her mother. I stood up. My feet were unsteady. Sophia gripped my hand. We left the room. We passed through the living room. The photo on the wall entered my view. My sister's smile. But I couldn't think about it now. I didn't have the capacity to think. I could only walk, pulled by Sophia. We went out the front door. Into the hallway. Sophia pulled my hand strongly. The stairs. We can't take the elevator. My daughter shouted. I obeyed my daughter. We ran toward the stairs. My daughter's hand guided me. All I could do was follow my daughter. My head was in chaos. Michael's face, my sister's smile, the touch of cold cheeks, everything was spinning around. We ran down the stairs. I almost missed a step. Sophia supported me. We kept going down. From the 5th floor to the 1st. I could see the exit. We burst outside. The cold autumn air hit my cheeks. I stopped. I turned around and looked up at the apartment building. I saw a figure in the 5th floor window. Standing at the window was Rachel. She was looking down outside. And when she spotted us, she slowly waved her hand. With a broad smile. A victorious smile. I froze. All the blood in my body turned to ice. Rachel kept waving. As if saying goodbye. No, not that. As if celebrating victory. Sophia pulled my hand. My daughter's small hand had unbelievable strength in it. I let my daughter pull me as we crossed the parking lot. My feet didn't feel like my own. As if I were walking in a dream. But this wasn't a dream. That cold touch still remained on my palm. When we reached the car, Sophia opened the door. My daughter tried to push me into the passenger seat. I sat down in a daze. I couldn't even fasten my seatbelt. Sophia pulled the belt for me and it clicked into place. Then my daughter looked toward the driver's seat. I looked too. I had the keys. But my hands wouldn't move. I couldn't do anything. Mom, the keys. I heard Sophia's voice. I looked at my daughter. Sophia was crying, but looking at me with strong eyes. With trembling hands I took the keys from my bag. Sophia tried to take them, but I shook my head. I had to drive. I had to drive. But my hands were shaking and I couldn't get them in the ignition. After several attempts, the engine finally started. I looked in the rearview mirror and could still see the fifth-floor window of the apartment. But Rachel's figure was gone. The window was empty. That was somehow more eerie. Where was my sister? What was she doing? Just thinking about it made me nauseous. I pressed the accelerator. The car moved forward. We left the parking lot and entered the street. I didn't know where I was heading. I just wanted to get away from that place. We stopped at a traffic light. I took a deep breath. The trembling wouldn't stop. I looked to the side, and Sophia was staring at me. My daughter's face was a mess of tears, but her eyes were steady. Much more steady than mine. I gripped my daughter's hand. Sophia, did you know? My voice trembled. My daughter bit her lip. Then she nodded slightly. My chest constricted. My daughter had known. She'd known something. That's why she'd been so frightened. That's why she'd said she didn't want to go. But I hadn't listened. I hadn't paid attention to my daughter's voice. Tell me. Sophia, what happened? I grabbed my daughter's shoulders. Sophia's face contorted. And she started crying. I hugged my daughter. We cried together in the car. How long were we like that? A car horn sounded behind us. The light had turned green. I started the car. We drove a little and I pulled into a convenience store parking lot. I stopped the car and turned off the engine. Sophia, talk to me. Please. I looked at my daughter's face. Sophia wiped her eyes. Then she began speaking in a small voice. Daddy, we haven't been able to reach him for 3 days. I gasped. 3 days ago. 3 whole days. But I talked to Michael last night. At least, that's what I'd thought. Aunt Rachel said so. Daddy's busy, so he can't contact us for a while. Let's keep it a secret between us. Sophia's voice was trembling. I squeezed my daughter's hand. I urged her to continue. But I thought it was strange. Because Daddy called us every day. For him to suddenly not be able to contact us. Something was starting to connect in my head. Last night's phone call. Michael's voice. But had that really been Michael? The voice was similar. But there was something off about it. The way he talked was a little different from usual. I'd thought it was because he was tired. When you said, we're going to Daddy's place, I got scared. Because. Sophia started crying again. I rubbed my daughter's back. It didn't smell like Daddy. That room smelled weird. A sweet smell and something rotten. I closed my eyes. The smell my daughter had mentioned. I hadn't sensed anything. But maybe children are more sensitive. Sophia had instinctively sensed danger. And I'd ignored my daughter's warning. Aunt Rachel has been acting weird lately. When you weren't there, she kept staring at pictures of Daddy. And she was talking to someone on the phone saying, soon everything will be mine. All the blood drained from my body. My sister had been planning it. Planning what? To kill Michael. But why? We were sisters. We'd grown up together. I'd trusted my sister. Loved her. Why had my sister tried to take everything from me? I took out my smartphone with trembling hands. I had to call the police. But my fingers were shaking and I couldn't press the buttons properly. Sophia took my hand. Mom, it's okay. I'm here. At my daughter's words, tears overflowed. My 8-year-old daughter was encouraging me. The daughter I should be protecting was trying to protect me. I took a deep breath. Then I pressed the numbers. 911, emergency services. Is this fire, police, or medical? I heard the operator's voice. I squeezed out my voice. Police, please, my husband is dead. Then I gave them the address. The location of the apartment. The operator gave instructions in a calm voice. Don't leave the area. Wait until police arrive. But I didn't want to go back to that place. Never again. Are you away from that location now? The operator asked. I answered, yes. Are you in a safe place? Is anyone with you? My daughter is with me. We're in the car now. I understand. Police are on their way. Please wait there. Are you okay? I answered, yes, but I wasn't okay. Nothing was okay. But for Sophia's sake, I had to be strong. It took 20 minutes for the police to arrive. During that time, Sophia and I held each other in the car. My daughter's body warmth made me feel reality. I was still alive. Sophia was alive too. That was the only thing that was certain. A patrol car pulled into the parking lot. 2 patrol cars stopped and 4 police officers got out. I got out of the car. One of the officers approached. A young female officer. Are you Emily Johnson? I nodded. The officer looked at me with kind eyes. That must have been terrible. Can you tell me what happened in detail? I told her everything I could. About my husband's work assignment. About the birthday surprise. About what I found in the room. But I couldn't talk about my sister. I still couldn't believe it. That my sister had killed my husband. The officers headed to the apartment. Sophia and I were told to wait here. We waited in the car again. I looked at the clock, it was still only 10 in the morning. Just 2 hours ago we'd been full of hope. Looking forward to seeing my husband. And now, 30 minutes later, the officers returned. The female officer's face was grave. She approached the car and looked at me through the window. Ms. Johnson, could you step out please? Your daughter can wait in the car. I got out of the car. I looked at Sophia's anxious face and just mouthed, it's okay. The officer took me to a spot a little ways away. Ms. Johnson, your husband has passed away. I nodded. I'd known. But when it was put into words, the reality weighed heavily on me. The cause of death hasn't been determined yet, but a medical examiner is on the way. And the officer seemed to choose her words carefully. There's evidence that someone else was in the room. There were personal items that appear to belong to a woman. And some photographs. I closed my eyes. Do you know anything about this woman? I opened my mouth. I had to say it. But the words wouldn't come out. My sister, I had to say. My sister was having an affair with my husband. And probably killed my husband. My sister. The words finally came out. The officer's expression changed. Your sister. Rachel. Rachel Harrison. The officer took notes in her pad. Then she looked at me. Do you know where your sister is now? I shook my head. I didn't know. But the image of her waving from that window was burned into my mind. She was in the room. From the 5th floor window, she was watching us. The officer took out her radio and started talking. All I could do was stand there. Rachel was arrested 3 hours later. She didn't even try to run, sitting quietly in a cafe 10 blocks from the apartment, drinking coffee. When the police approached, they say my sister smiled. as if everything had gone according to plan. The autopsy results showed Michael had died 3 days ago. Cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head. Rachel claimed it was an accident after an argument. But the prosecution called it premeditated murder. When Michael tried to end the relationship, my sister killed him. If she couldn't take him from her sister, no one could have him. That's what she decided. The trial began 6 months later. What was revealed in court was my sister's years of jealousy and hatred. Since childhood, our parents had doted on me. The excellent older sister, the beautiful older sister, the perfect older sister. Rachel had always been a shadow. And then meeting Michael. Rachel fell in love with him. But he chose me. Again. My sister had everything. I had nothing. From the witness stand, Rachel said this. But none of the jurors sympathized. Jealousy isn't a reason for murder. The verdict was first-degree murder. Life in prison. A year has passed. Sophia and I are living in a new city. It's a small apartment, but it gets good light and my daughter's laughter echoes through it. Sophia sees a counselor once a week. She still has nightmares sometimes, but less than before. She's made friends at school. She's a strong child. The strength she showed that day when she tried to protect her mother, she still has that strength. At night, after my daughter has gone to sleep, I go out on the balcony. Looking up at the starry sky, I think about Michael. My memories of him aren't just pain anymore. The time we loved each other was real. The fact that I was betrayed doesn't disappear, but he's still my daughter's father. I want Sophia to remember only the good parts of her father. Blood ties don't make a family. It took time to realize that. Rachel was my sister. We shared the same blood. But she wasn't family. True family are those who protect each other. Who support each other, trust each other, sometimes risk their lives to protect each other. Sophia taught me that. That day, my daughter protected me. So now it's my turn to protect my daughter. The two of us will create a new family. Letters arrive from prison. Once a month, like clockwork. The sender is Rachel. At first they said, "Forgive me." Gradually the words, "I was family too," increased. I've never written back. Sometimes I throw them away without even opening them. A letter came yesterday too. This time I opened it. There was just one short line written there. "I always loved you." I slowly tore up that letter. Then I threw it in the trash. Looking at the torn pieces, I quietly formed the words. "You were my sister, but you weren't family." When I returned to the room, Sophia was awake. My daughter looked at me and smiled. "Mom, I'm thirsty." I went to the kitchen and poured water. When I handed the glass to my daughter, Sophia gripped my hand. "Mom, I love you." "I love you too." I hugged my daughter. Her warm little body. A life that truly exists. This is my family. Not blood. Choice. Those who choose each other and decide to protect one another, they become true family. Outside the window, dawn was approaching. A new day was about to begin. Our new life was moving forward, little by little, surely. Far away in prison, Rachel stares at the walls of her cell. She keeps writing letters that will never get a response. But they no longer reach us. She lost everything. And we gained a new everything. Mother and daughter. That was enough. We needed nothing more. We will go on living. Together, the two of us.